Hello fellow crafters, makers and creators, I am Kurt and I'm so happy to be back. Today I'd like to take a moment to share what 2023 has been for me and this channel and show you some side projects and what is planned for 2024. So get a warm cup of tea, coffee or a nice cold ale and let's dive right in. I think first and foremost, the most relevant thing that should be addressed is the inactivity on YouTube throughout 2023. The reality is that at the end of 2022, it was very turbulent, and as a result, 2023 was a bit of a tough year to deal with. My dog Eros got injured, and as a result, we had to care for him round the clock for 8 weeks. And this level of care and commitment made me rethink some of my life choices, and to be honest, I felt like I was not on the right path. I was also dealing with some mental health issues, stress, anxiety, and burnout, and to care for myself, I felt like I needed to take a bit of a step back, chill out, and just do what was needed to care for myself. Unfortunately, this meant that I needed to suddenly stop all things that I considered extra and which did not give me the satisfaction. Editing videos was one such thing. And of course, this meant that I did spend time in the workshop, but did not really shoot or upload videos on this channel. Luckily, hopping over to other social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram in the form of Reels, I still managed to scratch that video creation itch with low effort editing and compilations of short projects that I was making. Another result of last year's event is another move, which means that over the coming months I will be relocating to another home and obviously set up another workshop. And I am very excited for that because since I moved into this place, my workshop philosophy has changed a bit and has become clearer than when I was in my parents' garage. And I know what kind of projects I'm more likely to make, but I would also like some room to expand and grow, something which I felt was not easy to do in this workspace because of everything else going on over here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not unhappy with this workshop, far from it, but since I'm moving anyway, might as well adapt to my newest workshop and hobby philosophy, essentially. Throughout 2023, I have rekindled my love for miniatures, specifically 3D printing them. And I have managed to procure several custom models and I've been printing and assembling them. In some instances, I also painted them, or are in the process of at least, and I find that as an almost therapeutic couple of hours where I just zone out and focus only on the painting. If you've been following me on Patreon and Instagram, then you probably have seen these already. But I'm very happy with these and looking forward to printing more of these for a few matches with my friends. To be quite honest, I do not intend on entering any tournaments with these, as they would not be allowed and they wouldn't be legal. But it's a good way to get started in a hobby without investing the inordinate amount of money required to play something like Warhammer, for example, for the first time. Other miniatures I've printed lately included those for Dungeons and Dragons and other games that in the last few days of 2023 I managed to host a homebrewed one-shot for a group of friends who had never played before. It was fun, it got some of my spark back to be narratively creative, and I'm really looking forward for more D&D content and miniature content, especially on the Epigeeks. Speaking of D&D and the Epigeeks, that's another YouTube and Twitch channel where my friends and I call ourselves the Epigeeks, play video games, and most importantly, we used to play Dungeons and Dragons. We had a year-long campaign which aired weekly, and I was very enthusiastic about it. I still am, to be quite honest. But as I said earlier, burnout got to me, and I needed to take an extended break. The campaign was put on hold, however, my mind was not. And all throughout 2023, for about a whole year, my mind kept thinking about the game, about the setting and the places and the people and the cultures, the characters within, until I finally put pen to paper, or rather hands to keyboard, and compiled, I think, about a 140-page book detailing everything I could think about this homebrewed campaign and continent of Yukabai. And I have not released it yet. However, it is in its final editing round where my friends and colleagues are giving me feedback and input, and I'm hoping to have it ready by May. It should be published exclusively online. There may be some hard copies which I'll keep for myself and for some of my friends, but they will not be sold to the public due to licensing agreements with these online publishing platforms. However, just keep an eye out for Amilcar Avalok's Compendium of Lore, Volume 1. Yes, I'm already planning more content for that. So let's talk about props and cosplay. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to those of you who have been with us for quite a while that I love prop making. Whether it's by 3D printing or resin casting, I love making props. And at the end of 2022, I competed in the Malta Comic Con cosplay competition and got first place in the solo category with my Mandalorian cosplay. It was my first seriously competitive entry and I was very happy with the result, as you can imagine. And of course there are many things that I can do better now, but it was one of the main causes for burnout back then. And I had spent 4 weeks, 6 to 10 hours a day after 8 hours of work at my day job to get the costume finished, and by the end of it I was utterly exhausted. I was burnt out. Satisfied? For sure. But ultimately, I was at my limit, and again, I was and am very happy with the result, but I didn't think I'd do it again. So I did it again in 2023, and I competed in the largest and what could be considered the most professional cosplay competition on the island of Malta, the Playcon cosplay competition. And it's worth noting that this was the first time it was hosted, and it exceeded everyone's expectations. The stage, the level of cosplay competitors, the judges, it was pure awesomeness. And I wore my Dovahkiin costume. I made this beauty in about 5 days, and I pulled out all the stops. I got the templates from Punished Props, converted them into SVGs, and for pots, for the laser cut the designs, used 3.5 tubes of contact cement, 2 bottles of super glue, sealed with wood glue and water mixtures, base coated, painted, weathered, highlighted, accented, faux fur. You name it, and it was such a pleasure to work on. I was finally reawakening that spark for crafting, and it was exhausting, but was not half as stressful as the year before. So I asked myself, why is that? And the answer was pretty simple. It's that I had company in the workshop this time around. A friend of mine kept me company and helped me with the creation process, and honestly, it was more than enough. I can't quite remember who told me this, probably Bob Claggett from I Like to Make Stuff, but I remember someone telling me that us makers tend to keep to ourselves because we get so immersed, so involved in our projects that we forget that we need to be social or something to that effect, and it does ring true. I love working in the workshop, but I have way more fun when I'm not alone. But going back to my Dovahkiin cosplay, I competed at the Playcon cosplay competition last year and got first place in the solo competition, and was also awarded the best prop for the Warhammer, this one, which I incidentally was the very first prop I ever created with my own 3D printer about 7, almost 8 years ago now. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. So, with all that behind us, what's next? Well, I've laid out a plan for monthly uploads on YouTube to resume. I have projects planned until I think the end of April, and I will try my best to adhere to the schedule. I have friends who are helping me this time around, both with camera, editing, company and motivation, so I'm expecting a better experience this time around. And first of all, I would like to thank them in advance for all their help and for getting involved. But I also want to focus on Patreon, especially intangible reward systems, not just pre-releases of videos. Since I will be having help, behind the scenes footage would probably be easier to produce and publish. Since we mentioned Patreon, I absolutely cannot end this video without mentioning my patrons, who have been amazing, honestly, for having stuck with me even throughout this content drought and keep supporting me no matter what. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Honestly, it is incredibly encouraging, even in rather tough times. And honestly, I couldn't do it without you. the small contributions, the monthly contributions on Patreon help a lot with procuring new materials, new tools, and they help motivate and making sure that creators feel that there's someone backing them up, someone who wants to see their craft. It's not just us talking to a camera. So for the first time this year, thank you so much for watching this video. The usual spiel about like and subscribe, you can do it if you want to, usual stuff. But I think most importantly is knowing that I'm really looking forward to doing something like this again, and I can't wait to get started. And I really hope that you enjoy the videos that we'll be uploading later on, and also hope that you stay tuned in. So yeah, take care. I hope that you are crafting, or at least you're being creative in some form or way, and thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.